Greetings everyone, I'm Kevin and here is my monthly reading challenge vlog. So I don't know how well you can notice or see, but I am not at a cafe. I did go to a cafe earlier this week, so it's the 8th of January today, and I noticed very quickly this week that I wouldn't be able to go to the cafe. There was just too much happening. Like, I have told you, like, I was gone for 2 weeks in total at the end of the semester last year. I work as a teacher, so being gone 2 weeks is kind of a lot to come back from, and you have so much to catch up to do. And I was back this week, so on Monday I went back for the first time since I was sick, and I had a lot of work to do, and it was very, very like, I really enjoy being back to work. I love my job. But essentially, the way that I feel with this challenge is that it's not doable. I think, like, I love doing my monthly reading challenge. I love it. And I always think it's gonna be so fun to spin the wheel and see what this month's challenge would be. But I think that it's not doable in, the start of a semester at school when you work as a teacher. It's not as doable as it was in summer when I created the wheel. I introduced the wheel in June. I think it was June that I introduced it. So it was summer. I didn't have work. I could take a lot of time to read the way that I can't right now. So I think I am going to retire the wheel until a month where I feel like not a lot of things are going on. I don't have a lot to do with work and stuff like that. So at the end of this semester, the last month of this semester in summer, I think I'm going to go back to using the wheel, but I am not going to do that for the rest of like the next few months. But because I already spun the wheel and picked 5 books for it, I still have to complete a challenge. But I'm not going to complete the in a cafe challenge. And as a punishment for that, I figured I'm gonna take the reading challenge that is the most difficult one to accomplish, and also because I don't want to switch books. I already picked 5 books. I want to stick to those 5 books. And the reading challenge that I can continue with those 5 books and have it more difficult time is the 24-hour reading challenge. So read 5 books in 24 hours. It is currently 8:30 on Saturday. So I'm going to start reading at 9. So in 30 minutes, I'm going to start reading, and I will finish, hopefully, all 5 books from 9 this morning until 9 a.m. tomorrow, Sunday. Hopefully, we'll see. But I should also say that as I have been to the cafe for my reading challenge this week, I started Get a Life Chloe Brown, and because I did read a little over 1 hour of that book, I will count that towards this as well, so I don't have to go back to the beginning on that book and re-listen to it from the first chapter, because I did read it for the challenge. I just switched challenge. Is like, that's it. I hope that makes sense. And I'm not sure which book. I think the first book that I'm going to start with is Winter's Orbit, because I have 2 books digitally. So I have Get a Life Chloe Brown as an audiobook on Scribd, and I have The Friend Zone as an ebook on my e-reader Stella. So those are kind of, digitally. So the audiobook goes, like, I can read the audiobook later today. I think when I get tired from reading with my eyes, I can listen to it. And I also have We Could Be Heroes available as an audiobook on Scribd if I need it. But this is a YA book, so I feel like it's not very long either. So I feel like this could or should go relatively quickly compared to other books. And then, as I said, like Winter's Orbit, I only have physical, and The Love Hypothesis I also have as text. I do have it as an ebook as well, but as Charlotte kindly gifted this to me as a physical book, I much rather read it as a physical book. I always prefer, when it comes to reading with my eyes, I do prefer holding a copy and turning the pages with my fingers and not on an e-reader. I do love my e-reader because it's like a great way to read a lot of books without owning too many books, you know what I mean? And yeah, but that's kind of like the plan. So I'm gonna start the Winter's Orbit at 9 and we'll see how far I will get, and hopefully I will be able to finish all 5 books. But I think I'm going to keep Get a Life Chloe Brown until tonight, when, as I said, I can't read with my eyes anymore and I want to listen to it instead. And I feel like that could be very easy, and I really enjoy like lying in bed and listening to an audiobook. I think that's really nice, and also like listening to an audiobook while sketching and stuff like that. So I think all of that is gonna be very nice. But that's the plan, and I will update you soon with how it's going reading this beautiful book. Hi, so I messed up. The reason I messed up is because I picked the longest book to start with. It's almost 12 now, like it's a quarter to 12, meaning that I have been reading for about 2 hours and 45 minutes. I am this far into this book, so not a lot. And I realized after reading 50 pages, I checked the clock and it was almost 10. So it almost took me 1 hour to read 50 pages, which I'm not happy about because this is over 400 pages long and I have 5 books to read. So it wasn't the smartest thing to do to start with the longest book. So I decided I'm buying the audiobook for it. The audiobook is 17 hours long, but I read it at like a higher time than, 1x. This one, like, the narrator speaks rather slow, in my opinion, so I started with, like, 2 times the speed, but then I thought it was too slow, so I upped it regularly until now I am on 2.7 times the speed, and I still find it to be, like, now it's perfect kind of speed. I can still understand what they're saying, like, it's not, but according to Audible, I have 4 more hours left of the audiobook. Like, when you up the speed, it says how much time you have left of the audiobook with the speed that you're going at. So 4 hours left. So I will be finished with the audiobook at 4 in the evening, 4 p.m. So I don't know how many books I will be able to read in 24 hours. I did not think about that at all, but I am sticking to it. I said that I was gonna read this first, so I'm reading this first. I'm sticking with that, and I'm gonna read this, I'm gonna continue it, and I will finish it when I finish it, and I'll see how many more books I can manage to finish today before going to bed. But now I'm going to go make some lunch, and then I will update you when I've gotten a little bit further into the book. There are a lot of things happening that are like very interesting. It's a queer story, and it's kind of like they have this treaty in this empire of planets. We have Janan, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I don't remember how the narrator pronounced his name either. But Janan, his husband died. So in order for this treaty to be like in work again, he needs to marry someone else from that empire that his ex-husband, his dead husband, was part of. So he married Kiem, and they have a lot of like miscommunication and stuff. Like, I am 130 pages into it. It's not that much, but I do enjoy it. There is some kind of mystery going on about what happened to Janan's ex-husband who died. What happened to him? Was it a murder? Was it an accident? What was it? Who do we know? Like, that's kind of what's going on right now. But it's very much still setting up the book, I feel like. But I'm going to continue reading this, and hopefully I will finish it soon and have time to finish other books as well. We'll see. Hi, it's 10 past 5 in the evening. I just finished this. So it's it took a while. It took a while, but I finished this. It feels super weird. It took me a long time. Like, I started reading it at 9 and it's 10 past 5 now. So that's like, what, 8 hours of reading this book? I have mixed opinions about this. Like, I feel like I'm gonna give it 3 stars. It is a science fiction book. It is set in space, but I feel like this is a lot more fantasy than science fiction. I feel like people who usually read fantasy would enjoy this. I think this is more for people who are new to the genre rather than people who are, hardcore fans of the genre. Because there aren't that many actual things connected to science fiction other than it being in space. That's it. A different planets. Like, that's it. The worlds are built very like fantasy. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not as science fiction as I like my science fiction books to be. And I expected it to be, I don't know, I had like, my expectations of it isn't what I got. And that's on me. This is a queer story, which was something that I was really intrigued about. And I do really enjoy the relationship between these two characters. Their relationship and watching that grow was my favorite part of the book. But I don't feel like I wouldn't go far enough and say that this was a romance novel, because there were a lot of things that were important in the book that it wasn't like hardcore sci-fi and it wasn't hardcore romance. I don't know how to explain it. But I did enjoy their relationship. I thought that was like well done and very interesting. And the premise of this regarding the dead husband was also very interesting, and like how the whole political situation is in this galaxy. I thought that was very interesting. I wish that the book had dived deeper into the world, the societies, and made it feel more science fiction, because sometimes I forgot that it was sci-fi and not fantasy. Like, it felt like a fantasy book set in another planet. Like, technology wasn't that big a part of the book either. Like, sometimes you got a reference to a piece of technology, but then it's technology that we have. I'm pretty sure that this is a YA, which I also understand that because of the audience, it's not as detailed and all of that. But I'm gonna give it 3 stars, and that is the first book finished. And I must say that I am extremely happy that I took the time via my clock, because otherwise I would have been really stressed and felt like, oh shoot, I've only read one book and it's already 5 in the evening. I think I will be able to finish all 5 books? No. No, I don't. And like this was a compromise for me because I couldn't, if I stuck with In a Cafe, I wouldn't finish any of these books, probably maybe one at most. So doing this instead and having like a punishment compromise of reading all the books in 24 hours, I would still end up taking punishment prompts for when I play my TBR game for February, but this way I don't have to take 5 cards as punishments. Instead, this is punishment compromise. As I said, I will do a monthly challenge, but I won't do an easy monthly challenge like 50 pages a day. That would have been very nice, but that wouldn't be fair. So if I can't do one, I have to do a harder one. So what I'm gonna do now is I am tired. I am really, really tired. Like my eyes are so dry that it feels kind of painful to like have my eyes open at times, and I'm hungry. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna listen to an audiobook, and I thought that because I don't think that I will be able to finish that many, like I think if I finish 3 books I would be very happy, but the book that I will be continuing now is Get a Life Chloe Brown, because as I said earlier, I already started that book. I am over 1 hour into the book, so it makes sense to finish it, you know? So that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and read Get a Life Chloe Brown now and just take it easy, rest my eyes, and eat something. That's my plan, and I will get back to you when I have hopefully finished the book. If I won't finish it before I go to bed, I do have until 9 in the morning to do it because I started at 9 this morning. So depending on when I wake up, I will have a few hours to read. But I'm gonna go ahead and read Get a Life Chloe Brown, and I will update you a little bit later. Hi, it's 20 past 8 in the evening. According to Scribd, I have 3 hours left of the audiobook. And I don't know how well you can see, it's upside down, but I have 12 hours and 40 minutes left of the reading challenge thing. And I am joined by my lovely girl, Lucy. But I'm gonna go ahead and sleep now. I'm going to have my clock still counting down the time, and hopefully the plan is that tomorrow I will finish Get a Life Chloe Brown so that I will have finished 2 books for this challenge. My plan, like I obviously won't be able to read more than 2 books because I need to sleep. And I feel like it would be cheating if I, you know, count 24 hours. So like I have 12 hours left today. So I could start the clock on 12 hours when I wake up. But then the whole thing with 24 hours is it being literally 24 hours, you know, 1 full day. So as I started 9 a.m. today, Saturday, that means that I have to end on 9 a.m. tomorrow. But yeah, I really enjoy Get a Life Chloe Brown so far. I really love Chloe, and I already, just listening to it, I have already written down a few quotes that really, you know, hit me, that I just really, really enjoy. And the relationship between them, I think, is fantastic. Like, I think it's hilarious. The only negative thing that I have to say about the book is I don't like the narrator. Like, that's the only issue that I have. I feel like I would enjoy this more if I had it as a physical copy or if I read it as an ebook. Like, usually had I not read this for this challenge, like this 24-hour reading challenge, I would have switched to the ebook on Scribd instead, but it takes longer for me to read with my eyes. It's always easier to listen to it, especially like in the evening when there's so much that I have to do, like cooking, cleaning, taking care of stuff like that. I can't do that reading an ebook the way that I can with an audiobook, so that's kind of why. But I feel like, yeah, that's kind of like that. I would have preferred reading it as an ebook. It's not that I hate the audiobook, it's just that not a big fan of the narrator. That's it. But I'm gonna go ahead and go to bed now, and my plan is to wake up at like 7 tomorrow, which would be, yeah, at 7 is where I usually wake up on a weekend, and I have 3 hours left of the audiobook, but it's not 3 hours, it's 3 hours of the audiobook, and I listen at the 2 times the speed, so it's a little less than 2 hours. So maybe I should go up earlier than 7 then. So like 6:30. I think I'm gonna wake up at 6:30, finish Get a Life Chloe Brown, and I will talk to you tomorrow about how I'm feeling about it. Did I actually manage to finish the book before the 24 hours are up? We'll see. So good night, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Hi, it's the next day, it's Sunday today, and I have 35 minutes left. I just finished Get a Life Chloe Brown, and of course I can't manage to read a full-length novel in 35 minutes. I do still feel okay with this whole thing. I finished this infuriatingly long book. And like, it doesn't look that big. Out of the whole bunch, this doesn't look that big to me, but the audiobook was 15 hours long, and I didn't notice that before I started reading. And I'm the kind of person who, when I say I'm gonna read this first, then it doesn't matter if this is gonna end up having a 24-hour audiobook. I'm going to finish this first because I said so. I have an issue switching when I put my mind to something. So that's why I kept reading this book, even though I noticed that it was gonna take a long time. But unfortunately, because of that first choice of reading this, I only had time to read 2 books. So yeah, but I feel kind of okay with that. That means there will be free punishment cards the next time that I play at TBRC. That's fine. Like, it was either that or taking 5 punishment cards, so I feel like I would rather take 3 than 5. But I have done this challenge now. I feel okay with it. And then I should talk a little bit about my thoughts on Get a Life Chloe Brown. I have mixed feelings about that book for one very particular reason. There were moments in this, like for the majority of the beginning, I was like 4 stars. This is gonna get 4 stars. And then the ending, I didn't really like the way it ended, like the main conflict. I didn't really like that because it really, both Chloe and Red did a bad thing. Like, not a bad thing, but they had some miscommunication in like assuming the worst. But I feel like only one of them, I feel like I understand why the characters reacted the way that they did, but I would have loved if it had been done differently. What I would have loved to see instead, this is just like my own personal opinion, I would have loved for them to go their separate ways, and then being on their separate ways, they understand what they were saying and they understand why they reacted the way that they did. And then both Red would try to convince Chloe that she can trust him and he loves her and all of that. And while he would try to do that, she would also settle in her emotions and feelings and actions and realize that I don't want to live without him. And she would also actively seek out ways to make it better between her and Red. I would have loved that. But instead, I feel like it would have said so much about her growth as a character, Chloe, because the beginning of the book, she thought that she didn't need anyone else. She was so caught up in her disability, which is a chronic pain disease, something like that. She has chronic pains, which impacts all aspects of her life, and I get that. Because of those issues, like I can say I relate a lot to Chloe. I get her. And there are several times in the book that I felt like it hit a little too close to home sometimes. I understand her, and that's kind of why I would have loved to see her doing that kind of growth, that she didn't want anyone, she didn't need anyone, or she didn't feel like she needed anyone because she was afraid that she would be a burden to other people in the beginning of the book. And then she met Red and they became friends, and then they became more than friends. I would have loved to see her realizing that, oh, I know that it's better or more safe to be alone because no one can hurt you if you're alone, and I can't go through that kind of pain again. But knowing, like, feeling like I can't live without him, that's kind of what I would have wanted her to kind of realize. Like, she does, but that's only after he tries to do these I don't know how to explain. I don't know the word in English. Like, it just left my head. I can't come up with a word. But he made these, actions that showed her that he likes her and he loves her, and he wrote letters to her and gave her things. And I would have loved for them to spend some time alone in their own feelings and going through what happened, and then both of them understand that I don't want to live without this other person. Because I felt like there was just so much happening in that small amount of time, when they had this misunderstanding to when they essentially broke up. And then, like, it was in a few pages, all, like, a lot of stuff happened. So I felt like that was a little too fast. I would have loved for it to be, for both of them to have cooled down a little bit before. But that's kind of like the only thing in the entire book that I'm a little, about. But yeah, I don't really know more about it. There are two quotes that I mentioned yesterday that I wrote down immediately after hearing them. So the first one is from chapter 5, and Chloe said, "Better to be alone than abandoned," and I just felt like I relate. And then in chapter 9, they have a discussion about, like, Chloe being rude, and Red says something like, you don't care about anyone's feelings. And she says, "I care about everyone's feelings." And Red says, "Really? What about your own?" And that also, I thought that was really, really good. That was really, really good. I have 16 minutes until the challenge, the 24-hour challenge is over. But of course, as I said earlier, I can't read a book in that short a time. So we're calling it a day, and I finished 2 books. I'm okay with that. I'm going to finish, like, the other 3 books. The other 3 books that I wanted to have finished are The Friend Zone, which I have on my e-reader. This is Stella, my e-reader. We Could Be Heroes. I also wanted to read this. And then the last book that I wanted to read, that I'm actually now, in hindsight, I'm mad that I started with Winter's Orbit because I didn't have time to read The Love Hypothesis. I think this would have been such a fun read to do, but this just looked so small. So I thought, hey, this can't take that long to read. Like 5 hours maybe to finish this, and it didn't take that short a time. Yeah, but the other 3 books I'm going to be reading in January regardless, but I won't be able to count them for the challenge, which I'm fine with. I am prepared to take free punishment cards, and I just hope that they're gonna be nice punishment cards. That doesn't even make sense in a sentence. Nice punishments. But yeah. Well, that was it for this vlog. I hope you enjoy this, and please leave a like if you did and subscribe if you haven't. And good reading. Until next time. Bye.